So today what we want to do is talk about the different kind of submachine guns there are and the development of them. There seems to be a whole lot of confusion today in what a first generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation submachine gun is. So to start off, submachine guns shoot pistol ammunition. So that's rule number one. A lot of times there will be a semi-automatic counterpart to the submachine gun. It started this way from the beginning. Early Beretta submachine guns usually had a semi-automatic counterpart. The Thompson submachine gun had an open bolt semi-automatic counterpart. A lot of times the semi-automatic version would be sold to police departments and the automatic version would be sold to various military and paramilitary organizations. So this is a MP28. It is selective fire, so it's semi and full auto. It's a first generation submachine gun. Its parent was the MP18, which was the actual first submachine gun that was manufactured in the modern pattern. So it was a contemporary of the Thompson submachine gun. When you look at this gun, it is heavy. It is all machined. So all of the tubing, the pieces, they're all machined in traditional gun making style, and it has a wooden stock. These are very high quality weapons. They last really well, and the weight of them makes the automatic fire very easy and allows you to shoot really tight groups. So they are outstanding weapons. But what happened is the governments and militaries of the world wanted to make guns much faster and much cheaper in mass. So that brought us to the second generation submachine gun. The first real example of a second generation submachine gun was the Sten Gun. And the Sten Gun was a 9mm copy of the MP28. But what they did is went to all stampings, lathe turnings, and welding so they could make these guns cheap. So this is the Mark II version, and I have a barrel in it that's modified for silencers, but you can see the skeletonized metal stock and the all metal on the gun. Now this was the first example of a second generation sub gun, and they were very cheap to make. The British went a step further and they come up with the Sten Mark III. This was the cheapest gun to make during World War II. This gun in real dollars in World War II cost $5 to make. This version was somewhere around $25 to $50 to make. So you can see the simplification in the Sten Mark III. They made thousands of these and they dropped them to resistance groups in Europe, Asia, all over the place. And these guns last very well. They're pretty well put together. And what you're going to find in second generation guns, a lot of them used magazines like this where you had 2 columns of cartridges and you had a single position feed. That was not ideal. After World War II, you'll see a lot of the designs got away from this magazine and went to a 2-position feed mag that was much more reliable. This is a post-war gun. It's a Madsen M50 submachine gun. A lot of second generation submachine guns had a folding stock on them to make them more portable in armored vehicles and aircraft. Now, what you're going to find with folding stocks, they make the weapon more handy, but they are not as easy to use, and they're not as accurate when you figure the shooter in as a fixed stock gun. This is an example of PPSH-43, Russian manufacturer, second generation subgun. Now, post-war, we got into a third generation submachine gun. So now we're going to talk about the third generation submachine guns. these are characterized by having the same easy manufacture as a second generation submachine gun. So you can see there's a lot of folded metal parts, screw machine parts, lathe turn parts, a lot of welding, and different kinds of fasteners that make things easy and cheap to produce. The difference is in the third generation gun, we have a bolt that surrounds the barrel. So this barrel comes all the way back to here, and part of the bolt comes out to here, and that way we can make the gun very short. And in doing it, the magazine fits in the pistol grip. So you can see in this example, the pistol grip houses the magazine. You have a telescoping bolt that gives you a very short overall length. Now you can find these guns with folding stocks, collapsible stocks like this one has, and also with wooden stocks or synthetic stocks that are fixed. And as always, a fixed stock is always easier to use than a telescoping or a folding stock. Now this particular gun is a Steyr MP69I 9mm submachine gun. Now this example is a M119 submachine gun made by SWD. So this was the last version of the MAC series, the military armament series. This was a simplified and cheapened gun. Now this gun has, I believe, an 8-inch barrel, and the barrel comes all the way back to here, and the bolt telescopes all the way forward to here. Now when we're looking at the M119 submachine gun and the MAC-10 series, I think one of the reasons that the government come out with the Hughes Amendment, the Democrats pretty much didn't want the average person being able to own a machine gun, so they banned the manufacture of them. And the reason they did this is back around 1986, 1985, you could buy these M11s for $250 a piece. The MAC-10 series was going for $350 to $400 a piece. So by the time you paid the transfer tax, the average individual was only paying around $500, $550 for a submachine gun, including the transfer tax and the dealer transfer cost. This was the same price as a 1911. So basically, an average person, if they could get a law enforcement signature on the paperwork, could buy a machine gun for the same price they could buy a 1911 .45 automatic pistol. So if you think about it, for the cost of two pistols, you could buy a MAC-10 or an M11 and a sound suppressor with no problem. So this is one of the reasons that the government wanted to ban the manufactured machine guns, because finally the average person could afford to buy one. So with the M11-9, it came with two types of magazines. You could have the 32 round magazine, or you could buy a concealment magazine of 16 rounds, so you could actually carry this gun in a shoulder holster. Now, when you're looking at these early Zytel mags, this was an early polymer mag. And this is very old technology. It's about 30 years old. At the time, it was revolutionary, and these magazines were considered disposable. Now, the problem you had with them is these feed lips would wear out. They did have a metal liner in them, but it would eat away. The other thing that would happen is the back seam on here would fail and they would split. So this was a very early Cobra manufactured Zytel mag. These were made by the thousands, and you can still find them today, but in the aftermarket, a lot of people actually started making better steel magazines that you could use in this gun, because these definitely had a short lifespan. So when you're looking at these original polymer mags from SWD, Cobra, they have a limited lifespan before the feed lips wear out or the back seams fail. So they may only last 5,000 or 6,000 rounds. So keep that in mind when you're buying these guns. Now, there's a lot of confusion between third generation and fourth generation. A fourth generation sub gun is a gun that uses the receiver and components of an assault rifle or a full powered rifle, and it's modified into a submachine gun. So this one is a semi-automatic version, 9mm, and you can see by the mag well it's spaced down for a 9mm mag. So this is a true fourth generation gun. Now an MP5 is not a fourth generation gun because it is in the design family of the G3, but it's not a modified G3. So when you look at this and you look at the Mark 18, these are the same size, but the Mark 18 shoots an assault rifle cartridge, so it's a short-barreled assault rifle. It's not a sub gun. But this 9mm version is a submachine gun. Now the last thing we want to look at is some things that are close to a submachine gun, but they're not a submachine gun. And a lot of confusion arises when you look at these items. This is an actual machine pistol. So this is an actual Mauser model 1932 machine pistol. Now what gets confusing is in the German nomenclature, machine pistol means submachine gun. And in the German vernacular, they would call this a Schnellfeuer, which is fast fire. So they really call a machine pistol in German a fast firer, which is a handgun. And this one is adapted for a shoulder stock. So you can use this in full automatic as a handgun or with a shoulder stock. So this is an actual machine pistol, not to be confused with a submachine gun. The last thing we want to look at is what's commonly called a personal defense weapon. Now, a personal defense weapon, or a PDW, it can be all kinds of things because that's really a tactical niche. In this case, we have a 5.7mm cartridge. It kind of fits in the role as a handgun round, but on the other hand, it's a shortened assault rifle round. So right now, there's really no clear reference of where this weapon fits into categories. I would put this in a third generation submachine gun because the cartridge is really closer to a handgun round than it is an assault rifle round. So some people consider P90s as a submachine gun, some consider it an assault rifle. But I think tactically, in the power of the cartridge, is really a submachine gun. So that kind of concludes the different types of submachine guns there are and why there's some confusion as to how they're classified. So basically, first generation sub guns are machined using traditional manufacturing methods. Second generation submachine guns utilize a lot of the manufacturing methodology from the automotive industry. So you have stampings, welding, screw machine parts, a lot of lathe turnings, and different types of low-cost fasteners. When we go to third generation, we use this second generation manufacturing, but we have a telescoping bolt and the magazine feeds through the pistol grip. And then on fourth generation sub guns, we share a common receiver with a assault rifle or a full powered rifle. And that's what a fourth generation sub gun is. Please comment, rate, subscribe. We'll see you on the next video.